You're about to watch this conversation with Mr. Shankar Sharma. This has been extremely interesting for me because Shankar, as his usual self, has been very candid and forthcoming during this interview. Before we proceed, I would request somebody who has not yet done so to subscribe to this channel and press the bell icon. And here we go. So good afternoon. I have with me Shankar Sharma, one of the someone who really needs no introduction. I guess any investor in India would know about Shankar. So I'll therefore just say this that Shankar Sharma is a man of strong opinions on most things in general and maybe markets and stocks in particular. He, along with Devina Mehra, run First Global Research, which is probably one of the finest research companies in the world. कुछ ज्यादा तो नहीं बोल दिया शंकर when I said finest research companies in the world?
I think that's fine.
That's perfect then. So
that has been always the case, and I'll explain to you why.
Yeah, good. So let me start from the beginning. You did your education in Asian Financial Institute, Manila, and then came back and worked in Citibank. And most people who would get a job in Citibank, especially those days, would say कि यार ऐश हो गया, अच्छा job मिल गया, now I'll do ऐश for 10 years, पैसा कमा लूंगा, and then maybe कोई business करते हैं. But you didn't do that. You thought completely differently. Within a couple of years, you started First Global. How did that happen?
So I started my career with HCL in the early 80s under Shiv Nadar, and that was a fun period for Indian computer industry because the IBM compatibles had just started. And then I left HCL, went to do my MBA, and during my MBA, I was clear I didn't want to go back to IT. It did not excite me.
Yeah.
So I applied to Citi. That was the only bank I applied to in India, and fortunately I got selected. It was not easy to get selected in Citi because you had the best of Indian, and in fact a lot of expatriate Indians also coming back to work for Citi.
Correct.
But anyway, I got selected. But I can tell you the 1.5 years or slightly beyond that I spent at Citi were the worst years of my life.
Oh, okay.
I was so bored. I was so fed up that even if somebody had offered me come and work for free, I would have left it and joined it. Oh. But obviously, as Devina tells me that you were anyway unemployable. So I was clear I wanted to be in another, not to be in another job. I wanted to quit Citi and start on my own. And the country head, in fact, called me when I had put in my papers and said that, why are you resigning? You're just 26. You have no contacts. You don't know this business. You have no money.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to be saying, who leaves Citibank at the age of 26? Even if you have to leave, work for some time, become a VP,
yeah.
You will have some money, you'll know people. That's the common trajectory. And I said, by the time I'm VP, the exit barriers will be so high that I will never be able to quit. I mean, look at yourself. You will never be able to quit your job, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because, you 35,000 per month. That was the salary for the country head back then. Yeah. So, for me, I was clear. I just wanted to go out and I had no money, but I had a lot of, you can call it junoon. I just wanted to make it. I mean,
yeah.
And by the way, I was clear I was never going to go back to any other job, not just Citi.
Huh.
So I said to myself, I burnt my bridges with the employment market. अगर मुझे रोड पे सोना पड़ेगा मैं सोऊंगा लेकिन मैं वापस नौकरी नहीं करूंगा कुछ भी कर लूंगा नौकरी नहीं करूंगा so one had to think like that otherwise looking back I think that was a mad decision I would never do it again
yeah it was a brave decision and an interesting one actually at that point in time so you named your company First Global. That's when you started First Global. Then you left Citi and you started this. So
that time it wasn't First Global. First Global happened in 94. I mean, because just a quick bit of history, Indian Stock Exchange didn't allow corporate memberships back then. If you recall,
yes. Yeah, you had to
all
become
partnerships. Yeah, partnerships and proprietorships. So Devina became member of the Bombay Stock Exchange, but you could not corporatize it till 1994, I think February, which is when we corporatized the entity and made it into, and we were looking for a name, and we said, all right, so we want to be the first global entity of securities from India, and that's how the name came.
Okay, so that was going to be my first question. You had a plan to make it into an international broking company, not just an Indian broking company, even at that time in '94.
Always,
Always. It was the plan.
always, always, always. Absolutely, absolutely crystal clear clarity on that front.
So you were structured in that way, actually, clearly from that
So our
time.
thinking was that, but I'll tell you the inspiration for that really came when we started interacting with a lot of foreign fund managers because India opened up and all that. And we were struck by our lack of knowledge.
Hmm.
And it's not that they were smarter than us, it's simply that they were more globalized. So they could talk with authority about companies, sitting in Mexico or companies sitting in Taiwan or companies sitting in Brazil. And we said, yeah, we are like some, villagers in this whole global marketplace.
Correct.
And we need to really start thinking outside of India.
Hmm.
So that was really the inspiration that if these guys can know 200 companies across the world inside out, why can we not?
True, true. And
Right?
I remember very clearly any of these foreign broking houses that were there at that time, they could actually do their research a bit better because they could relate stories about what happens to similar companies internationally or what has happened
Correct.
there, which they can then relate to what happened in India, what happens in India, right?
Correct.
So
Correct.
that
Exactly
was
right.
clearly an advantage that they had. So this broking was something that even I knew that you were into for a long time. But when did asset management start? So I'm just jumping years.
Yeah, that's a long journey. It's
Yeah,
a long journey. So, I mean, in between broking and asset management, there has been our own investing. So, so that's, the proprietary investing part has been there for a very long time, which is in a way asset management, except that you're doing it for yourself,
correct.
right? Uh, Around 2015, we started to get a lot of pressure from within the company that we should, we've had a PMS license for 20 years, but we were never convinced that the model that existed in asset management was going to be a workable model. The way fund managers invested, the way even we invested, we were clear that this model is destined to fail.
Correct.
And the last thing we want to do is to do the same old with no value added and then spoil a name built over 20, 25 years. I mean, that to me is more valuable, than making a % or two managing people's money, to be
Correct.
absolutely clear about it. I
Yeah.
mean, frankly, we lack for nothing, thanks to, God, thanks to Manmohan Singh, that we entered our prime earning years in 1991 when the whole boom started. And that is very important, that you have to have the tailwind of big growth. You
Correct.
can be good, but if you have headwinds, you have a big task, right?
Yeah.
So all of us in our generation had that big tailwind. So if I mean, the needs for money were met back then in the 96, 97 itself. I remember in 96 was already, one of India's top taxpayers on an individual basis. So, I mean, within a few, so I mean, your needs for money were met a long time back. But around 2015, we started to think that is there a better way to do asset management? Is there a better way to do money management? Is this old model tired? Because it's clearly not working. And you are aware as well as anybody else is that this has not worked. I mean, people are disappointed, people are disenchanted, promises have not been fulfilled. Maybe excessive promises were made. We said, yaar, ye nahi karenge, yaar, karenge where we think that we have an edge. Because nobody should pay me money if I do not have an edge. Let's be clear about it, right? And from that point, the journey started when we started to manage money for some overseas family offices in 2015. We started to build a lot of tools and techniques instead of the traditional, driven by my likes, my dislikes, my preferences, my biases. Promoter bahut acha hai, uska vision is very good.
Correct.
The way he speaks, it's just amazing. I mean, his 5-year vision is so brilliant. I mean, who the hell can project 5 months out here? Forget 5 years.
Correct.
But we were all, and I dare say most of the industry still works that, right? That $5 trillion economy vision. I mean, we know where we are going, 5 trillion, or maybe we are remaining at 2.5 trillion for a while, right? All these things are very, I mean, frankly, they're just a waste of time.
Correct.
And if it were just idle thoughts, it's okay. case. But when those thoughts become money management tools, it becomes toxic. It becomes dangerous.
Correct.
You know, I can sit and think a company बहुत अच्छा करेगी और India will become 5 trillion. That's
Correct.
okay. Nobody, I mean, you know, hey, I'm permitted to have my views.
Correct. And आपका पैसा है.
हाँ, मेरा पैसा है, मैं कुछ भी नहीं करूँ, मेरे दिमाग का फितूर है, मान लो 1 मिनट के लिए. But आपके पैसे पर मैं वो फितूर चलाऊंगा, ये ठीक नहीं है.
Yes.
You see? So that's the time when we started to think, let's re-engineer and reimagine the investment management model. So, you know, our results 15, 16, 17, 18 were good, but not great. Okay, they were good. We were beating the market, but still we were not convinced that this is good enough. Okay, because we have never done anything, Mahesh, that is just good enough. Okay, so either you do something that's the best in the world, or you don't do it. You know, so you know when we FG, our vision was कि research करेंगे ऐसा करेंगे कि यार इंडिया में कोई नहीं किया. When we went abroad, we said कि looked at Wall Street research, we thought it was rubbish, and we said, well, we can top this. And the proof of that actually came in 2000 or 2001, I forget which year, when Barron's wrote an article on us saying that our research was the most credible on Wall Street. I mean, when Barron's writes that, you know, you say, all right, now this is vindication that in the most advanced, most competitive market in the world,
people find value. Yeah.
People find value, you're appreciated. So even in asset management, we didn't want to be just good enough, boss. It's very simple. So by 2019, we built, and you know, we're fortunate to have some very bright people now who are coalesced around us. 19 results were very good, you know, globally. You know, we were up like 39, odd percent. Markets were up 20, 25%. 2020 is when it all came together. You know, it's again fortuitous. Had, you know, this model thinking, everything coalesced in January and February end, we are sitting and we can see the tsunami coming.
Yeah.
Okay. You can see it. And we neatly sidestepped it. Market stand, we fell a bit, not a lot. From there, we went back in. So the 30% that we have delivered, both in India and globally, comes as the result of 4 years of really having re-engineered the whole investment management process.
Correct. So in this portfolio management company or the portfolio management service scheme that you are running, so is it just one where you will allocate across assets across the world, or is it like there is a India specific one and there is a global separately?
Yeah. So by regulation, India can do only India.
Yeah.
So under the PMS structure. So
correct.
In India, our India PMS does only India. It cannot do anything else.
Correct.
Within that, we have two schemes. One is a straight, equity scheme, because many people just want straight equity risk.
Correct.
That's fine. We also have a hybrid in which it's a tactical asset allocation strategy in which we can move vastly between, the available asset classes. Now in India, obviously, there is a dearth of things you can move around, right? So you're basically fixed income, you have the equity market, and then you have gold. I mean, you can't even do oil in this under this structure, right? So forget silver or forget a copper, all those things.
You can't.
In some senses, you feel a little deprived, So, so therefore, along with this, we have the global product in which we have two products. One is a small ticket product for small investors, starting at 7.5 lakh rupees. And that is the segregated portfolio management scheme. So that's managed out of UK. Okay. So under a UK subsidiary. And then we have a Cayman fund, which is a fund which is $100,000 and above, because that's a fund.
Yeah.
And the fund the fund regulation doesn't permit us to take small ticket items, because then the compliances become huge.
Much larger,
in a global fund, if you start taking a few $1,000s, then the level of suitability analysis that we have to do, because 100,000 is considered a qualified accredited investor.
Correct.
So, but therefore we didn't want to shut out individuals or smaller ticket investors, and we therefore opened a separate product. And I dare say that's worked really well. I mean, it's been heartening to give people a very well guided method of accessing global markets, because it's a huge ocean. I mean, India is tough enough. World is
Correct.
another,
Yeah,
ball game.
I know. I
So
know people find it difficult to invest in India, select stocks out of 500 maybe investable stocks, but here you're talking of the entire world, and that is really tough, I guess. I guess.
yeah, it's a huge jigsaw.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a huge jigsaw,
Yes.
and but there are ways to solve the jigsaw.
Hmm.
Okay, it's not an impossible jigsaw. There are ways, there are tools, there are techniques, there's thinking, but
Hmm.
it takes time. You know,
Correct.
if you actually tell me that tool, I don't have it.
Hmm. So
But they do mesh. They
yeah,
do mesh. Absolutely, they do mesh.
so you can look at the entire picture and then say कि ये sectors को हम इस company इस country में देखेंगे या in fact some of the
Correct.
stocks that you have picked and I dare say you have already tweeted about it, so it's available information like Fiverr, for example, which you said you bought in March or something, and even
Yes.
Twitter, if I remember, way back in 2016 was it that you bought?
2016.
Yes.
2016.
So 2016 you bought Twitter, and that time Twitter was really not doing so well. I mean, we knew Twitter, but nobody knew why it will start doing better because it was in the doldrums, I think, at that point in time. And Fiverr I had not heard of, let me be honest. I had not heard of. So how do you hear about a stock in the first place and then let alone decide to pick it? I mean, you have to know na कि ये company है, इसको हम देखना चाहिए.
So yeah, that's a good question, and unfortunately the answer is long and complicated. But let me simplify it for viewers that to build global capabilities, first of all, you have to open up your mind. Most people in India, I can tell you and all the buy side, we have been together. We are part of the same age group. We're all in our mid-50s.
Yeah.
We started career in the 90s, right? We're part of that set. I have never met a more close-minded set of people than Indian fund managers. Okay, they're absolutely and totally close-minded in every sense of the word. I mean, on just a handful of them in my 25 years of sell-side career, I can tell this guy a different point of view and he will listen to it. Otherwise, they all want a sanitized, sterilized perspective of the world. If you give them that, you'll make some money through the commissions. If you don't give them that, you're not getting a trade. It's so simple.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm telling you the absolute brutal truth. That is the way the buy side works in India. They just want to hear what they want to hear. So, but globally, the difference was, I'll tell you, Mahesh, when the FII boom started and we started interacting with fund managers, apart from their knowledge of the world, the other thing that struck was that how open-minded they were to hear different perspectives.
Yeah.
And that's when we connected the dots and said that your open-mindedness actually comes when you have more knowledge.
They know.
When you have less knowledge, you're more arrogant.
Correct.
You know everything. When you expand that thing, man, what am I? I'm an idiot. I don't know anything at all.
Yes.
And the more you delve, the more the questions, and hence the more the humility inside you, right?
Correct.
So the big contrast between Indian fund managers and global fund managers was just lack of ego. Just lack of arrogance. They just wanted to hear, tell me something that nobody else is telling me, right? So to do global investing, first and foremost, open up the mind. Let go of your Indian biases that India is the focal point of the universe. India is not. Okay, you're a tiny speck. You're like 1-2% of the global market cap. You are somewhat good, somewhat bad country in some respect, good and bad. But you're nowhere close to what your inside echo chamber keeps telling you 24/7. Okay, to be absolute, I'm an Indian as much as anybody else.
Correct, and you
But you need to get out of you need to get out of your Indianness to understand the world. See, first and foremost.
Correct.
After that, you build tools. You build massive tools. You build massive data analysis engines, which will give you areas of the world where you should focus on. And then, like a laser, you will point down that, okay, now these are the areas where we now need to go in deeper. So it's a journey, okay? It can't be. And of course, remember one more thing, data availability is a lot better now for sure than when we started.
Correct.
20 years back. But more than data, it is the brain that needs to expand.
Correct. Okay. You might get screeners everywhere, you might get data everywhere, but you have to be able to look at it and make a call yourself and understand that, right?
No, in fact, it has now become the reverse. The interesting thing is that increased availability of data has actually meant, because see, people are still analyzing things the 90s way. Think about it. एक आदमी एक फंड मैनेजर है, वो एनालिस्ट को भेजता है कॉन्फ्रेंस कॉल, ट्रांसक्रिप्ट पढ़ता है, या कंपनी से मिलता है और या प्लांट जाता है, वो आके बोलता है अच्छा क्या लगता है तुमको इसमें, सर इसका ऐसा था, गुड बैड अगली है वो. अरे बाबा, that's what we have been doing from 1980s and 90s, boss. World has moved on, but the investment management industry is still rooted in the old style.
Correct.
Now, when you have so much data, then what does the mind do? The mind then takes refuge in becoming lazy. It says, "ये नहीं हो सकता मेरे से." So it then forms lazy opinions.
Okay, correct.
तो हमेशा अच्छा ही करता है. Reality might be different. It takes 5 minutes to do that data, but mind doesn't want all that.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yes, yeah, because I've seen your report. I mean, when you said lever, for example, I see the thing that really caught my attention in the 2000 was that report you wrote about Hindustan Lever,
yes,
right?
2000.
Yeah, you wrote that report. I have read it, so I know. And I said at that time, this is astonishing. Because I mean, I've not read a report which was like that, and I'm not trying to say it for effect here, right? It was truly good, and anybody who read that report will be able to say that, yeah, ये तो सही लग रहा है, and people could have taken a call, and if they had done that, then it would have been a great thing, because 2007 तक तो शायद return नहीं दिया उसने, right? I mean, it didn't. Was it zero return?
Actually, even till 10, I think nearly 10 years. In nearly 10 years, there was no return from Lever.
Yeah. And now people have this very recency bias, and they say Lever अच्छा कर रहा है, so you know clearly that is the.
तो हमेशा अच्छा किया है, हमेशा से अच्छा किया है. While this 10-year period is conveniently scrolled out as if it never happened.
Yeah. So in fact, I didn't think of it, but now that you have mentioned this is a good, interesting question. Now, the P's of all these stocks. And you know, let's not name stocks if you don't want to, but if you do, I'm very happy. There's like sectors, there are some sectors where the P's are in the 50s and 70s, 50s, 60s, 70s, where the annual revenue growth is probably 10-15%, and still it is being justified with various stories like interest rates are low, so P 50, 70, consistency of the earnings growth has to be also valued, so 50, 70, and that is justified. What is your take on that? Is it justified, or you think there is a problem there?
So, I mean, coincidentally, you know, I think you interviewed Samir, you know, a while back. And,
yes, I did. Yeah.
You know, Samir and us have, you know, somewhat similar thoughts on all these kinds of theories.
Yeah.
Because we have similar books, and this is one of the halo effect.
Yeah.
This is one of the halo effect fallacies, right? That you put halos on companies and management that they can walk on water.
Correct.
In reality, the data is much to the contrary. And, you know, forget about these companies. Coke has had that halo because of a Warren Buffett ownership from 93. And we just put out, you know, some data saying that from 93 till today, Coke is up 8 times, but the S&P is up 12 times. Pepsi is up 30 times.
And still people talk about Coke, yeah.
And we only know Warren Buffett because of Coke, that was his best investment. But the data, which you can get it in 5 minutes, just completely blows apart this theory. So we are by nature questioners. Okay, we don't accept. That's not us. I mean, that's not in our DNA. आप कुछ भी बोलोगे, मैं उसको 2 सवाल पूछूंगा कि नहीं, बट ऐसा क्यों नहीं हो सकता है, या इसका उल्टा क्यों नहीं हो सकता है, मैं पूछूंगा. अपना नेचर ही है. My father used to be fed up with me. यार ये क्या तो, you know, इतना सवाल करते हो यार तुम. So I mean, that's just the way I have been tutored. I have been brought up. And you know, in class 7, you know, I was, you know, I just read the book Exorcist, which you know, the famous, you know, horror.
Correct movie there. Yeah. Yes,
and you know, our priest who was to teach us moral science, Father Welch, and I asked him that, Father, I have a question. He said, what? He said, I said that, look, I just read this book, and it seemed that the worshipping the devil, it has a lot of payoffs. Like you can kill somebody, you can destroy, you know, a priest, you can move a bed. but whatever you're teaching me, worshipping God, it doesn't seem like a very certain outcome, right? ये तो 20-25 साल करते रहो, पता नहीं कुछ होगा कि नहीं होगा. So give me one good reason why I should worship God instead of the devil. I mean, that guy, that American priest thought I was nuts there. I mean, so, I will question. That's my nature, like it or not. So we have questioned this whole FMCG thing. We have played it. Okay. So we always say this: play everything but believe nothing. So, okay. So this whole high PE thing, in my view, is outcome of very simple arithmetical or let's say financial factors. Number one, they are a factor of a high ROE nature of the business. Rest everything being equal, high ROE companies will trade at higher price to earnings multiples or higher price to books. Correct? That we all understand. But why is the ROE high? That's the real. And that in Indian companies of this FMCG set has been high because they have had the best of all worlds. Very little competition, number one, because you have 5-7 big multinationals and a couple of Indian companies for a market the size of India. It's I mean, virtually like individual monopolies, right?
You should make out like pirates, I think.
Exactly, which is what they have done. But more importantly, unorganized buyers. You've got Kirana stores, basically structure in distributors, dealers, Kirana stores, right? Modern retail in India has not existed for more than like 10 years in any form, and now only you're getting a consolidation because of Reliance and DMart, a few other guys. More than that, online, which has suddenly gone from zero to virtually your way of shopping now, all of ours, right?
Yes.
Because of COVID has accelerated an online adoption which might have taken 10 years, it's happened in 10 months. But online is not fragmented. Online is consolidated. Correct. How many online portals you have? 2, 3, 4.
Correct.
Right?
Truly.
So suddenly the economics of the business it's just completely reversed. So you will not have the same margins as you used to have before because these are consolidated buyers who will drive down your pricing. Okay. Second, they will have their own store brands. We all know that. You go to Grofers, you go to Big Basket, you go to, I don't think Jio has it, but it will have it.
It will finally,
Yeah, exactly. So they will show you on the search results their own brands before. And the economics of the FMCG business, Mahesh, are very simple. Let me give you a 1-minute primer. Typically in the FMCG business, your raw material to sales for that level of volume buying is never more than 5-7%. Manufacturing costs, including RM, is usually 10-15% tops.
Correct.
Okay. So basically, you run at gross margins of about 80%, even 85%. Okay, depending on the type of product and the scale.
Yes.
From there, then you have all your SG&A and admin and distributor margins, etc., right?
Correct.
Now, distributors might take away, or the chain might take away 25-30% in a fragmented situation.
Correct.
And that becomes consolidated. You're leaving 50%. Straight 50% of the end consumer selling price. Your realization is half. That's the global number. And that is for established companies. If you're a new brand, so forget it, boss. You will be lucky if you get only 20% realization of the end of the consumer price. Now think about it. If you are a store brand, you don't have any of the other costs.
Correct.
You have an 80% gross margin. You slash price by 50%.
And still make good money,
Still good money for you. You're making a 30, 40, 50% margin. Consumer gets it at half the price. At the heart of it, Mahesh, at the heart of it, all these products are commodities.
True.
All these products are commodities. You remember, don't ever forget, they are not branded. They have been made branded.
Yeah, they have been branded, yes.
What is instant coffee here? Hai kya? You go to a suburb, you go to Thane, you will have a dozen unorganized guys making instant coffee. And it will be the same coffee what you are saying is good coffee from Nescafe. So this industry we know because we have a lot of interest in FMCG businesses otherwise also. It's a commodity to make instant coffee, to make cereals, to make this. ये तो unorganized sector बनाता है. So, and in fact, the interesting thing, Mahesh, is when we used to go to London in the 90s, we used to go shopping.
Correct.
सेन्सबरी में गए
हाँ.
तो उधर में नेस्ले का देखते थे कॉफी, उसका नीचे में सेन्सबरी कॉफी.
हाँ.
तो मैं एक दिन यार बोला यार ये तो साला आधा पाव में मिलता, चलो इसको पीते हैं. I
हाँ.
wanted the same.
Same, yeah.
I said, yeah, this is a scam, right?
Correct, correct.
So
Correct.
how that day was 95, 96, 2020, that is now reality in India. So
Yes.
these high P multiples were the result of high ROEs, which was the result of these margins, lack of consolidation, and also because you're using a lot of the credit being given by your suppliers.
Yeah.
So you have negative working capital.
Correct.
But your Walmart or a Reliance won't give you money in advance. They will give you money 3 months later.
Correct.
So the working capital part will also alter.
Yeah.
All things put together, I could be wrong, but this is not the place where I want to put my money into for the next, let's say, a year or 2 years, for sure.
Understood. Now let me come to a question, not a question, a statement that you are famous for having made in this last few months, and that was that bulls and bears get slaughtered. I think that's what you said. But be a hare. Hares actually make out, right? Make a lot of money. So, can you care to elaborate on that? And then I'll have a couple of more questions about that.
Yeah, so I mean, one of the reasons why we came up with the term hare was that everybody calls me a bear. And I had to find something which actually represents my mindset better. And it was, again, some creative thinking. We said, actually, we are hares. That we will run fast in one direction, brake quickly, and turn exactly to the opposite side. At the touch of danger, at the first whiff of danger. While a bull and a bear are big animals, so they have a lot of, momentum,
yeah.
Mass and velocity. And they can't turn. Whichever way they go, they will go, like a steam engine. I'm not that. I will turn. And which animal represents that? That's the hare. And the reality is that one of our central learnings, Mahesh, has been that in anything, whether life, business, asset management, investing, if you become rigid, you will get killed. Okay, in your health, if your arteries are rigid, you will die. Correct? Yeah. If your muscles are rigid, your bones are brittle, you will break. Muscles will tear. Flexibility is a quality we ought to value and prize in everything. Why do we take a fixed mindset as the biggest virtue in investing?
Yeah.
While in all other aspects, that is considered, a negative.
Yeah.
It is absolutely stupid to say that मेरा आज ये व्यू बन गया, अब मैं कुछ भी हो जाए मैं व्यू नहीं चेंज करूंगा. अरे क्या यार बॉस, world is dynamic.
Correct.
There are newer things coming into our frame of reference.
Correct.
Just because I had a strong point of view today, doesn't mean I am not allowed to change or I should not change. And a hare, by the way, also a hare has 360-degree vision.
Yes.
Because it is a frightened animal. It has to be able to see all around.
Correct.
Again, that's what we like to see, that the biggest dangers in markets might be just beyond our, immediate frame of vision, but they exist. And I mean, COVID was a very good example in February end.
Yes.
Just a quick aside, one of the reasons why we took the call that the market was going to tank in February end.
I was going to ask you that,
Yeah, it was not difficult. Again, markets globally had been very strong. Okay, so like I said, we were up 39-40% globally. Russia was up 48, Brazil was up, I think, 35, US was up 30. Even continental Europe was up 25-30%, which, I mean, that for a continental Europe, Spain, Portugal, was huge. So everybody came into this year pumped up, okay, full of dreams that, okay, yaar, next year we repeat hone wala, ye saal mein repeat hoga.
Correct.
In my experience, rarely do two very solid back-to-back years happen. They do happen, but it's rather rare.
Yes.
Okay. And therefore, we were already a little cautious at the back of our mind that everybody is very complacent. This is going to be a repeat of the 2019 boom. And then we were sitting and this COVID thing started to come. When it first came the first week of February, I brushed that. I said, yeah, SARS aaya hai, ye aaya, wo aaya.
Correct.
It's all rubbish. That was my view. I remember that at a party here, I said, nahi, kuch nahi hai. It'll all blow up. By the third week of February, when I tried to start reading about it, thinking about it, I said, man, no, slow down. This is different. Then I correlated that with the complacence in the markets, and I told my guys, abhi danger hai boss. The reason why the market should fall has now appeared. Because markets, even when primed for fall, okay, will need a reason.
Correct.
It might be the most innocuous reason, but we need some reason. And I said, COVID is our villain. This is it. Okay. This is what is going to make the markets fall. So it came out of, again, pretty commonsensical thinking, to be honest with you.
Yeah. So this is, suppose you, Shankar Sharma as the heir or the trader has a view that markets are, overheated, complacent, whatever. And but Shankar Sharma, the fundamental investor, says that the stock picks that I have done are good, and that they can actually be a stock that I can hold for a long term, right? For a long time. I don't have any problem with the stocks. Then who wins, in the sense that how do you handle the dissonance that comes with that market view and the stock view that you have? Stock views are good.
Actually, Mike, there is no dissonance. Okay, and I can tell you this much, and this is again unconventional in the Indian fund management, that I've been a trader longer than I've been an investor. When you trade, your harish thinking is even more honed, because trading, you're trading on the edge. In investing, you can be wrong for a long time, and yet it doesn't really hurt you every day.
Correct.
In trading, if you're wrong till 3:30, you're finished, right?
Yeah.
So that instinct of danger, spotting danger, is honed. It's in our DNA. And the prices then start to talk to you. When you look at a screen for that long, each price point has intelligence. Anybody who says the market is a random walk doesn't know what markets are. It's not a random walk. Markets have patterns. Markets have methods. Markets are not a wild ride. Okay. So in this kind of situation, the trader will win.
Correct.
Because it helps to protect capital. No matter what people say, that it doesn't matter, prices come back, but you've given up 20%, you've given up 30%. To just come back to normalcy will take you 6, 8, 12, even 2 years. I don't want to give up that, boss. It's very simple. So the trader will win. I will take protective action ahead of the street, for sure. No doubt about it.
So that, would that, if that was something to be replicated by an individual in India, one is to obviously hedge by Nifty futures or short Nifty futures against your long position. 2 would be to get out of your long position itself and reduce the exposure to equities. Then 3 could be to, get out of equities and move into some debt funds or arbitrage funds or something like that. Any particular preference? So, how do you do that?
So there are many frameworks. You can do all of these instead of just doing one. Yeah. That is usually more sensible way to approach any problematic situation, because you don't know which one will be the best one. So therefore, why choose? Do all of them in small bits. Something will save you.
Correct.
And buy some put options also on top of that with a small. If you're timing it right, then virtually for 1.5% cost for a month, you can hedge your entire portfolio. Done right. So वो भी कर लो, थोड़ा cash raise कर लो, थोड़ा bond ले लो. More importantly, cut back on the leveraged part of your portfolio. Meaning, not talking portfolio leverage. I'm talking the leverage like you have banks and NBFCs. Okay? I look at the mutual fund and the PMS managers in India, and I say, I don't know why people would want to pay you money to do this. When there is COVID, by first week of March, it was apparent that there was a serious problem.
It was a serious issue, yes.
It was a serious problem, right? What is the first thing you do as a portfolio manager? Get rid or cut back on leveraged parts of your portfolio, banks and PFCs. Because in any economic crisis, it just coalesces to the leveraged companies. In 2008, it came down on banks, financials,
infra stocks,
your realty stocks, infra stocks. All of them had leverage. Okay. In this time, there was only banks and NBFCs. Far simpler. At least cut back here. You had 50%. I've seen portfolio 60% in these 4, 5, 7 names. You're overnight, you're wiped out.
Yes.
That is being, in my view, obtuse.
Correct.
That So you can do all of these things. Cut back on leveraged companies in your portfolio, raise a bit of cash, do a bit of bonds, buy a bit of option protection, and don't do just one. Do 4 or 5 strategies. Something will work for you for sure.
Correct. Correct. So this actually brings me.
And think about it. And think about it. Let's say the market doesn't fall. But think about that.
No, हो भी सकता है.
What's the worst there? क्या फर्क
Correct.
पड़ता है?
Correct.
अरे 2-4% आगे पीछे में you can go back in. It doesn't matter.
Correct. 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 If COVID was not as bad as you thought, yeah.
See, understand this. Our investment management philosophy, Mahesh, is driven by one emotion. There's only one emotion. Loss aversion. Okay? Because we know behaviorally, you, me, all investors, a rupee of loss gives us more pain than a rupee of profit gives us pleasure.
Yeah, that is
we all know
fact.
that.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yes.
That's a well-known behavioral fact. We are driven by that. We don't want to lose money. Okay? Because if you don't lose money in the downturns, you're already 5 steps ahead of the competition. I mean, I'll give you one example. In the month of September, okay, the Nasdaq fell from peak to trough 14%. That's a huge fall in this September, 1 month back.
Correct.
Okay? Because we had taken protection prior in the first 3-4 days of September itself, because it had become very speculative. Everybody is making a lot of money in buying US tech. I tweeted about here, if some idiots are sitting and playing with money, it's not going to last. Because we did protection, we lost only about 3% versus the 10-12%. Now, in October, markets have come back. We are already back to parity, while other people are still 5-7-8% away. You see what I'm saying?
Correct. That outperformance is very difficult to catch up then.
Very difficult to catch up.
Yeah.
Exactly right. Exactly. That is the point I'm trying to make, that be averse to losses. People are too casual about losses in investing.
Yeah. People actually have bought that story. Keep buy right and sit tight and you will finally be okay. But we don't live in this world where you wake up sleep one day and get up 20 years later and see the returns, right? I mean, you have to live through every moment of that, and that is not easy. That is not easy. And buy.
Oh, it's not easy.
So buy right and sit tight.
It's not easy.
Would you actually recommend to investors then? I mean, this is you as a fund manager saying that I will sell once in a while when I think that things are overheated, complacent, etc. Would you recommend to investors also that at some time, if they have achieved some part of the returns that they expected to achieve and achieved it fast enough, they should probably, get down and get into cash, etc.?
Exactly. So if you look at the last 6 months returns from India,
I
mean, they are phenomenal by any standard.
Yes.
Prudence says that take some money off the table. Because you cannot hit every ball out of the stadium. It's not possible. Koi nahi kar sakta hai. So it is better to exit a tad early rather than give up accumulated profits. And if you are able to do that, I can guarantee you will be far better than everybody else in this industry. You don't need people to manage your money. If you can just control your greed and say कि ऊपर का 5-10% छोड़ दो यार.
Correct.
जाने वो मेरे नसीब में नहीं था. कोई बात नहीं.
Correct.
Over a period of time, you'll come out way ahead for sure.
I have seen a lot of people worry about the tax aspects of things and say कि यार मेरे को tax लग जाएगा if I do this and therefore not actually sell and then do it later, much later. I mean, this I've seen personally. Even in 2008, there were several people who did that.
See, I mean, in my view, tax should be no consideration in your sell decision. I think it is absolutely silly to save a bit of tax. You have risked your entire capital.
Yeah.
Because आपने profit बनाया उस पर tax ही दे दो ना, क्या फर्क पड़ता है?
Correct.
Right? Tax और क्या लगेगा? पैसा तो नहीं लग जाएगा वो.
Correct.
So, these are again some of the behavioral blocks we need to overcome as investors, right? Tax से चलते नहीं बेचेंगे, and we suffer 50% loss because we want to save, 20-25% tax.
Tax, yes.
That makes no sense.
Absolutely. So I have actually 1 or 2 questions which are more personal in nature, maybe with your experience, and you have had a long and for 28 years now in the markets. I think 92 to 2020 years, 28 years.
Actually, no, 30 years.
30 years.
I left City in 89. So,
oh, okay. So
30,
30
34
years.
years.
Yeah, 30. That's a long experience. So with this experience, and if you had this ability to go back in time and advise your younger self something, then what would that be? I mean, what time would you go back to ideally, and what would that be?
I was, I was telling Devina, a few months back when the model came together, okay, and when we avoided March and we went back in third, fourth week of March. Actually, on the day of the lockdown, we went fully invested.
Yes.
March 23rd. Yeah. When everybody said that this is the time to get out, we went back in. Okay. Yes. And then 1 week the markets were rallying and all that. And I was sitting with Devina in Delhi and I was telling her, I wish we had this wisdom 20 years back here.
Yeah.
I mean, because when you do a process right and things come through, which we never had at that time. We never had this intelligence, this wisdom, experience, etc. So, I was telling Devina that, I just wish God gives me another 25 years over and above what I have to really exploit this wisdom. Because, it is, I mean, the way we now think of markets is so different from the way we used to think of them in the 90s or even early part of 2000. It's a very different thinking altogether, completely.
Yeah, so in fact, that is a very important thing because one of the things that I wanted to ask you also, and now, so I'll ask you now itself, is that you have achieved all that you probably set out to achieve, and you yourself have said that monetarily, of course, you achieved it long back, and maybe other things like, run a great global research house, and do something in asset management, which you always felt they should be doing, and you have now done that. So what is it that makes Shankar Sharma tick? What makes you get up in the morning and do it all over again?
So, good question. I mean, I'll tell you, a lot of what you are as an individual, you yourself, me, or my wife Devina, we are just a product of our childhood by and large, because most of your formation will happen then. And I lost my father when I was 17. So, and there was no other earning member to the family, and I was still studying. And I remember that same night I was taking a train back to go to college, and in the train right opposite me there was a gentleman, wearing a suit. I was in the AC2 in the AC2 tier compartment, and I asked him, "Sir, what do you do?" And he said, "I work for an MNC company." And I said, "Will you give me a job?" He said, "You're very young." I said, No, I'm not talking about now. I said, "When I'm educated, will you give me a job?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "How much will you pay me?" He said, 1,500 rupees. I said, "Okay, done. Now I'm relaxed. I know my price." Okay. So, mera bhav khul gaya kam se kam yaar, that I have no earning member of the family. And now I need to know what is my worth in this world, right? So, 1500 bola, I felt relaxed. I slept well that night. That feeling of insecurity will remain with you permanently, no matter what you achieve.
Right.
That's what makes me get out of bed every single. I'm very hungry. I'm extremely hungry. I mean, Devina tells me you don't need to be so hungry. even at 12:30 at midnight, I'll be talking some interesting idea or something. She'll be saying, "Oh, I want to go to sleep." I said, "No, yaar, I mean, I can't. That's just me. I mean, it's just part of my." While Devina has had a relatively more stable, childhood. Outlook towards life is very different. Again, if you see Warren Buffett, he's had good middle American upbringing. His attitude to life is very different from George Soros, who had to escape the Holocaust, right? Who had to escape from that, the big mess in Europe, or Andy Grove, who had to escape from Hitler and Stalin both. And Andy Grove's book is called Only the Paranoid Survive, right? Because of your childhood experiences, that will remain with you. So I am hungry because I've seen hunger.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Actually, unfortunately, I think I was actually having a similar kind of background, but I was so happy with what I did that I had such low expectations about myself.
I think you did the right thing. I'm not saying what I'm doing is right. Okay, so I'm not passing a value judgment. I just said that it's a. I think if you can manage to be content with that background, I think you're far luckier than I am.
Correct. It was like saying, I did much better than I ever thought I would. तो इससे ज़्यादा और क्या चाहिए type से. So yeah, I swear we have all done various things. Yes.
Yes.
So I want. So okay. So coming back to one important question, because we always need to kind of give one advice to the younger generation who is probably listening to this program, hopefully listening to this and actually learning from this, and that would be like, if they want to do it themselves, and we've all heard of stories of how Robinhood has now got a huge increase in the number of clients, and Zerodha here in India has got a big jump in the number of clients that they have. And I'm pretty much certain it's all in the younger generation. I'm not saying 25, but maybe in the 30, 35 kind of range. And they have probably decided to invest themselves, not go through the mutual fund route, not necessarily go through the PMS route itself, but do it themselves. Then what would be the simple hygiene factor so that they don't actually burn through their capital and at least do a few things right? I mean, what kind of advice would you give them?
So I think I can only give one advice. Don't have less than 20 or 25 positions in your, whether trading or long only portfolio. Anything less than that, you will run into massive losses sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I understand. This is the diversification versus concentration debate, right?
Well, it's a debate, and there are arguments on both sides. But since these people are new,
you
would rather be diversified
than
concentrated. The time and need for concentration, if at all it arises, I think it's absolutely stupid in my view. It makes no sense. But each to his own. Even if you do that, wait 10 years and learn everything before you start to become a concentrated investor. Till then, you have to survive. And you will survive well with 20, 25 well-picked names. Okay, don't become concentrated and Warren Buffett style कि उसने 50% एक stock में डाल दिया and all that. That's, in my view, that's hugely irresponsible even for Warren Buffett, let alone for a novice.
Yeah. No, maybe it is even taken out of context. Maybe one of the stocks which he invested in has grown so much that it has become a larger portion of his portfolio. I have no clue, really. I mean, did he actually?
That's not really true. No, that's not really true, because he didn't buy Apple before. I mean, he bought it in 2016, 17. By this time, it had anyway gone up. I mean, I bought Apple in 2002.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, and I exited at I think 70x. And around 2016-17, Buffett bought it then, and he's up 4 times even from that time.
Wow, can you believe that?
It's just Apple has been a great stock. I mean, that's about it. Yeah.
So coming to one other thing, I don't know whether you would want to answer that. That is that people have this perception, and I know friends who have this perception, right, that you are a bear. Whereas I have clearly heard several times you being unequivocally bullish in the markets, and you have probably said that loudly and to everybody who cares to listen, that you are bullish at different points in time, and you have done that. I have heard it myself. So, but still there is this whole perception that you are a bear. And probably one of the things I think of is that I have seen that TV channels typically tend to call you when market falls. किसी दिन तो बुलाएंगे शंकर शर्मा को आ जाओ, and then Shankar will say something, and it's a subliminal message.
I agree with you. I think it's all the TV channels' fault. But on a serious note, first thing, I've been bearish in my life about 3 times. Okay, which is 2000. Okay. In the tech boom, 2007, end of 2007, beginning of 2008, in the GFC time, and now, in this very short, highlights package bear market, right? Which happened and gone over in 20, 25 days time, but it was still the equal of having a full scale bear market, except time frame of the month, right? So so basically 3 times in 30 years, I'm entitled to call the biggest falls that have happened in these 30 years.
Yeah.
The point is this: nobody, first of all, comes out and says this. Okay.
Yes.
First and foremost, they might even know it or believe it or think about it, but nobody has the guts, or they don't get paid enough to come and say this. Okay. I've always been dependent in my thought processes. I will say it the way I see it. Okay, that's the way it is. Because I owe it to anybody watching me. यार मैं झूठ तो नहीं बोलूंगा. If I feel it, I will say I could be right or wrong. That's a different point. But the second point is India still has been relatively an under-matured market in diversity of opinions. Okay, which is what I was alluding to at the beginning of this show, that maybe we live through so much stress as Indians throughout our lives that we don't want another market stress or somebody telling us that there can be market stress.
Correct.
While you see the US, there is diversity of opinion at any point in time. And you will not brand anybody bear or bull or this or that. It is another opinion coming at a certain point in time, but it is not as if they will put a stamp on your head.
Yeah.
Because at a certain point in time, you had a certain point of view. Views change, markets change. You know, so my view in the end of February this year was very different from my view end of March.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
But
correct.
I'll tell you the third thing, very important, which is that avoidance of big losses, in my view, is the holy grail of investing. Holy grail of investing. If you can save 20% in market falls, imagine in the rally you will be there, you will participate.
Correct.
How much distance you keep putting between yourself and the rest?
Correct.
Nobody can catch you. So boss, कम से कम वो 20-30% बचा लो.
Correct. Correct.
So what is wrong in that?
Absolutely. And I believe, yes, I think you're spot on when you said that in India, I have not really seen too many people come out in media and say honestly that they think that, you know, at best they say, if you're a long-term investor, there's no problem to buy, right? And it's like 4-5 साल 10 साल में तो पैसे बन ही जाएंगे. So they don't say you're bearish, but they say if you're a long-term investor, क्यों problem क्या है? खरीदते रहो आप. So that is what I think I've heard people say.
Let me add to that. When I was, you know, a sell-side broker and I broke to everybody, you know, in this city and across the world.
Yeah.
I remember 2007 in particular. I met the mutual funds and all of them are good friends. And I told them, look, boss, in my view, 2008 is going to be a disaster, or it could be a disaster 2007. Again, mad bull market, all kinds of rubbish running up. Infra companies were trading at crazy numbers. I used to tell them, infra mein kuch nahi, paisa nahi ban sakta. It's a third-class business. Nahi, yaar. If India has to grow, infra has to grow. All that BS nonsense.
Macro top
People
down.
want to people want to disown those statements today, but they were made.
Yeah.
But I used to tell them, why do you fear a bear market? As a smart investor, if market falls 30 and you can therefore be proactively, you have taken corrective action and rejigged your portfolio, cut your leverage, cut risk, done some other rejigging, and you're down 15. आप 15% का alpha over market, आप bull market में नहीं कमा सकते साहब. Impossible है.
Correct.
चांस ही नहीं है. देखो bull market में सब चीज चलेगा. आप ±2% index के चलेंगे.
True.
Why do you fear this? You should welcome it.
Correct. As
but
a
it
fund
is
manager,
so
that's
absurd. No.
Yeah. I think it's partly because.
But you tell me, Mahesh, you have been in the business long enough. Can you beat a bull market or can you beat a bear market? Which is easier? If you're smart, bear market is easier. Because you can rejig it to fall less than the market.
Correct. Absolutely right. Yeah. Absolutely right. And in fact,
bull
if
market
you do that,
bull market में नहीं possible है.
नहीं possible. And you're right about the bull market. If you try to do the right things in the bull market, you will probably underperform. In the sense
exactly. If you're buying good companies, good management, देखो third class चीज ज़्यादा चलता है.
Correct. Absolutely right. So you might probably have the danger of underperforming, and therefore you need to have the bear market to be able to get your outperformance back, right?
Exactly. It's so commonsensical, but nobody gets it.
No. So then a couple of questions again. Your personal question. I've seen you tweet about food. I have seen that, so I know that you are a foodie. I've seen you talk about wine and good wine and things like that. I know you read a lot, obviously, because you talk about a lot of the books that you read. I know that probably you are a cricket fan. Maybe played cricket in the past. I used to play cricket.
You used to play.
I used to
play cricket up to a pretty high level. So yeah.
Yeah. So all this I'm right about. Okay, great. So
Yes.
are there any other hobbies that you had? I mean, you have? Do you pursue something else at all?
So I think this is a pretty full plate. I mean, as a kid, I had a very diverse set of hobbies, and I remember my father telling me every year I used to have a new hobby. So एक साल मैं कैमरा बनाता था, एक साल मैं प्लेन बनाता था, एक साल मैं कार बनाता था, एक साल मैं इंजन बनाता था, एक साल मैं रीडिंग करता था, एक साल नॉवेलिस्ट बन गया था. And my father used to say, यार तुम एक चीज डिसाइड तो करो कि क्या करने का लाइफ में. And my only answer used to be कि boss, still have done many things. How do I figure out what am I going to be good at?
Great.
So
look at that.
I've always had. I always get पता कैसे चले कि मेरे को फोटोग्राफी करने का है या कार बनाने का है या एरो मॉडलिंग करने का है या एरो इंजीनियर बनने का है. So I've always had a lot of interest in life, lot of interest. Okay, so for me, I've been very fortunate. Again, it's an unfair advantage in a lot of senses that my father, he spent I think 7 years in England, working, studying in the 50s, and then. So he imparted a very modern, westernized view. It could be right or wrong or disagree or agree, but that's a different point of view. But he brought in those books. He brought in encyclopedia. He told us, "Padho ye sab cheez," and this is back in the early 70s, late 60s.
Yeah.
And then, our school principal, who was an American, Father Hess. I mean, I remember in 72, we were having a school play. Okay, I was in class 2 or something. And he shot it on CCTV camera. And he replayed it to us.
Wow.
And showed us that, look, this is where you guys are going wrong. I mean, imagine, talking 72. I mean, that level of exposure to modernity, has been, so it made you very curious about things also. So I have a lot of, I don't have time to do all of that. But, inshallah, I mean, I'm sometimes, someday, I just want to go and build a model plane and fly it.
Yeah. So, in fact, I really hope one other thing for you, that is you have those 25 years of excellent asset management. You actually make this asset management company into a thing that you would be yourself very proud of, other than the rest of the community in general. But if you yourself are very proud of that asset management company, and it actually does all the things and brings together all your learnings of the last 28, 30 years, and actually you are able to capture it. I think that would be a fantastic thing for everybody. I think it is something that I really wish happened.
Yes, that's the objective.
Yeah, and I also hope that I live to see that happen and see that you have done something, because you are one of the few people who talks about shorting, and you are willing to say that markets don't necessarily look good all the time. And for me, being a trader myself, that is really something that I like to hear. So Samir Arora is also one of the persons who will talk about shorting a sector, if not being net short at some point in time, right? He will talk about shorting a sector. So these are the things that I really like to hear, and it was a great pleasure talking to you because of this thing, I should say. And I must thank you once more for doing this. You've been extremely kind, very generous with your views, and very forthcoming. Do you have anything else to add to this, in the sense that have I not covered something that you would like to talk about? Have I missed out something that?
Well, yeah. So I mean, one of the questions I'm asked very often, Mahesh, I mean, just as a parting thing, is that what makes a great analyst? What makes a great fund manager? And to my mind, it is the ability to question. Okay. So have to be the faculty of critical thought, critical thinking, right? And and that, I mean, when I look back at my life, even as a kid, okay, I obviously was very curiosity driven, lot of questions, etc., etc. But I was very commercially driven also. So I remember Binaka Geet Mala used to be a big program in the 70s, right?
Yeah.
Huge one. And my sister, used to put on the transistor and listen to this. And so I asked her, कि दीदी ये बताओ मुझे कि ये तुम सुनती हो ये अमीन सयानी को, हाँ, तो मैं बोला उसको पैसा कैसे मिलता है, वो तुम तो फ्री में सुनती हो यार. I mean, what is in it for him or Binaka?
Yeah.
Give you this bloody program, ये damn good, 1 घंटा अच्छा गाना सुनते हैं, लेकिन फ्री में अपना कोई पैसा तो जाता नहीं है इसमें. ये क्यों सुनाता है हम लोग को यार ये बात? ये तो मतलब I don't understand the commercials of this thing.
Correct.
Obviously my sister was 2 years elder, she had no clue either.
Yeah.
Okay? So, but then my mind started thinking that maybe these guys have a tie-up with the battery guys, okay? Because these were transistors with batteries.
Correct.
So maybe more I listen, more I consume, and therefore more batteries I need. और इसका साला कोई
कट
होगा इसका जरूर इसमें कुछ ना कुछ. But I was commercially, you know,
curious.
I would question, is this happening? Why is this transaction happening? So a lot of your foundational, you know, things will help you in life to become a great analyst or a great, or even a businessman, whatever you want to be, right? Those initial groundings are important.
Yeah.
So when I have friends who have, you know, like 10 years back, young kids, I always told them, give them the gift of knowledge. Yeah, mobile, that will make them into something completely different. It's going to be a range breakout in charting terms.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
So, I mean, in my view, that the range breakout will happen because of your foundational years.
Great. So, as a parting gift to our viewers, do you want to talk about a couple of sectors that you think in India would be the sectors to look out for? I won't ask you for companies necessarily, but just sectors that you think are good. I mean, first of all, is the market, do you really believe that the market has a long way to go? Are we still in a bull market? There might be corrections. I'm not talking about that.
So, yeah, but you see, again, it's important to understand where the markets are today. The markets have had a vertical rally, but
yes,
they are still back to where they were in January.
Yes.
They are still back to where they were in July.
Yes.
2019.
Yes.
So while we've had the feeling of great movement, there is actually very little displacement.
Correct.
So, 40,000, 25, 32, 40, ये उधर ही घूम रहे हैं बॉस पिछले एक सवा साल से. Many stocks have done very well, but I'm talking more than Nifty or Sensex returns.
Yeah.
My view, I can find 25, 30, 40 very good stocks, irrespective the markets will give terrific returns. But I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced that Nifty itself will give you those returns. Because of the weights, the way the Nifty is organized, and 35-40% are financials,
yes,
and you have Reliance, 15%, and some others, 60%. I mean, Reliance 200 billion market cap. Obviously, there is a finite level immediately, at least, where it can go up.
Correct.
Because Alibaba is $600-700 billion, and that is accessing a far bigger pool than Reliance is. So then you have to have some degree of realism here. So Nifty may not deliver, but in my view, I can find 25, 40, 30 very good stocks where I'm very confident we can make substantial returns. I mean, in India, our PMS is up 26% year to date. So global to HE. I mean, in India, we have made substantial money, and this is despite this kind of down in the middle.
Correct.
So we find enough stocks, but yeah.
No, so 26% is year to date, you mean, from Jan to now?
Year to date, calendar year to date.
Yeah, that is incredible. I mean, that is huge outperformance. I mean, we are not even there yet in Nifty, actually, to the Jan peak
no,
level.
So -5. Nifty, I think, is -5 year to date.
Yeah, absolutely. But that is fantastic performance. Are your performance there in the PMS Bazaar kind of thing? I mean,
it's there. It's listed there. Yeah. It is very much there. Okay. I think the September one is just coming out. September was a good month for us. We were up 6% in September, but I don't think October is going to be that easy. It doesn't look that easy.
It has gone
because
up
again,
just now.
No, but October Nifty has gone up, but it is a very narrow market. So that up move in the last week. Yes, it's just a handful of stocks driving up the market. Usually those are not very good signs. Okay. They're not signs of great internals. They're not signs of great robustness. So, one needs to be a little watchful right now for sure.
Thank you so much, Shankar. This has been fantastic. I mean, I have to say that this has been a great time for me personally, and I hope somebody who listens to this program will actually admit that this was a superb talk that we've had.